If you recognize the skyline behind me, you know that it is Fort Worth, and now parts of the city are represented by a Democrat for the first time since 1983. Over the weekend, Democrat Taylor Ramette won a special election. He now represents Senate District 9 here in North Texas. That covers much of Tarrant County, including parts of Fort Worth, North Richland Hills, South Lake. Ramette is an Air Force veteran and a labor union worker. He was up against Republican Lee Wambsgans. Wambsgans is a self-described ultra MAGA. She's also put a lot of money into defeating Democratic candidates in local races, such as school board. Ramette ran his campaign on lowering costs, protecting jobs, and funding public education. This seat for SD9 in the state Senate became open when Kelly Hancock resigned in order to be the acting comptroller. Hancock still had a year left in his term to fulfill, so that is why we had a special election. It is the one that Ramette just won. Ramette will be back on the ballot in November in order to reclaim the seat he just won. Now again, this is the first time in a couple decades that a Democrat has represented this area. Democrats are saying that this is an indicator of what the November midterms will look like. Meanwhile, Republicans, including Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, say this should be a wake-up call for the Republican Party, and he's encouraging GOP supporters to get to the ballot box this fall.
This isn't just a big deal in normal world. This is a huge deal because it's Fort Worth, Texas. This is the stronghold of Republicans in the nation. This is the quote unquote, the last red urban county in the United States. And I don't think it's that anymore. I think that's officially over. And as so many people have said, from Beto O'Rourke to Steve Bannon, this, as goes Tarrant County, so goes Texas, so goes the nation. This is a huge deal. This is a bellwether, not just for Texas, but for the country. And I think we can all take a lot away from what happened last night here in Fort Worth. Easily 10-1 outspent in every facet and every way. But we have seen both in November and in January, it held the same, that you can't just throw money at this. You can't just try to buy ads to make your case. You have to have those personal touches, those personal conversations. And that's what Taylor did so well. Number one, not only do the Democrats organize really well and coordinate exceptionally well, that was a huge part of this. But of course, the other part is that people are sick of the brand that the Republicans are selling, and they want a candidate who's just going to fight for them on bread and butter issues like jobs, healthcare, public education, the basics.
The fact that it was an R+17 district leads me to believe that the campaign was off message. The campaign wasn't very well run. The campaign probably took too many things for granted and didn't run as aggressively as they should. But it's certainly a wake-up call for Republicans. I think all Republicans should take notice. This happened in Texas. This didn't happen in a state in the Midwest. It didn't happen in a state in the Northeast. It didn't happen in a California district or a Pacific Northwest district. This happened in Texas. So I think Republicans need to become more serious when they're talking about affordability. And when you talk about affordability, it's not the statistics, it's not the stock market. If a family sits down at their kitchen table and feels squeezed, that's an issue. That means that people are concerned with affordability. They're concerned with their rent. They're concerned with their mortgage. They're concerned with the price of food and groceries. The president is still very popular within Republican circles. The president is still very popular in Texas. So I don't think it's the president that is the issue. But you need to, as a candidate, address the concerns of voters. And top of mind right now is the economy. Top of mind right now is sitting down at the kitchen table and making sure that we can pay our bills.
Here at home, a Frisco cheer team honored one of the girls killed in a sledding accident last Sunday. Take a look. You can hear Express Cheer shout out Gracie Brito's name before their routine at the American Cheerleaders Association Grand Nationals yesterday. After competing, Gracie's teammates broke down in tears. Before yesterday's performance, Express Cheer posted on Facebook saying, in part, our reason now is to do it for Gracie, to celebrate Gracie, and to hold the memory of Gracie as close to our hearts as we can. Our reason now is to value friendships, love each other, and cherish every moment we get for Gracie. Police say Brito and Elizabeth Engel were in a sled that was being pulled by a Jeep last Sunday when they hit a curb and then a tree. Both died from the accident. They were sophomores at Frisco ISD's Wakeland High School.
In a place long filled with light and song, the silence is loud.
Oh, it's heartbreaking, isn't it?
I knew it was bad, but golly.
Church leaders walked the aisles days after a fire ripped through St. Paul Lutheran Church.
Even in the midst of all of this, as Paul said in the scriptures, we're hard pressed on every side, but we're not crushed.
Holding on to words they know by heart, they find reasons for gratitude. No lives lost, and the building in South Oak Cliff is still standing in spite of heavy interior damage. The day the fire broke out, winter weather closed the church daycare center.
Nobody was here that day, and it could have been horrific. By God's grace, we were closed that day.
Worship areas, the stage where the choir sang, the organ, all gone. But between the charred pews, Bibles remain intact.
It's amazing to see just how as hot as this fire was, and the fire department said it was an extremely hot fire.
And this Sunday, their song returned, not from the choir loft, but a small building next door.
It was good for us to meet today. We need to see each other. We need to comfort each other. We need to sing, hymns of praise and be thankful that we made it through and that the bad things did not happen.
The church is not necessarily the building. The church is in the heart of the believers.
In Dallas, I'm Luke Clary. You can't see it from the outside, but a fire at this church in South Oak Cliff caused hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage. Take a look.
Photojournalist John Mark Crum, just taking you behind the scenes. Sometimes the places we go can be a little different. So today there is a church that had a fire in the sanctuary. So just as you can see here, just kind of have the camera just getting some video shots of this church. Unfortunately, they had this fire and they're having to rebuild. So yeah, definitely a little different, all the places we can go. And but my heart goes out to this church and the people that are here.
Hey everybody, meteorologist Jesse Hawila here. Happy February. Let's take a look at the normals for this month. Normal high at the beginning of the month is 59, normal low is 37, warmest it's ever been is 96. By the end of the month, normal high goes up to 64, the normal low goes up to 44. Coldest we've ever been is 8 below zero back in 1899. It's not one of our wetter months, but we do pick up about 2 3/4 of an inch of rain on average. And I remember this, the wettest ever was about a foot of rain back in 2018. And the normal monthly snowfall, it's technically, climatologically speaking, our snowiest month. We average an inch. The snowiest ever was back in 1978 when we picked up 13.5 inches of snow. Something I'm really excited about. We gained 50 minutes of daylight.
Getting our first look at the moments police arrested an Olympic gold medalist. Dallas native Sha'Carri Richardson was pulled over in Florida. Take a look. This is video from the Orange County Sheriff's Department. Richardson's in that gray Aston Martin, allegedly flying past other cars going 104 miles an hour. A deputy pulls her over, and moments later, Richardson pleads with him not to arrest her. Court documents show Richardson's boyfriend showed up to help her. Christian Coleman is a fellow Olympian and allegedly pleaded with authorities not to arrest her, then refused to comply when deputies ordered him to leave. He got arrested too, and both Coleman and Richardson have bonded out of jail. Believe it or not, a third Olympian also pulled up to the scene. Authorities gave Twanisha Terry a citation, but didn't arrest her.
There was a huge fire at an auto repair shop in Fort Worth this weekend. Now, thankfully, nobody was hurt, but you have got to see the pictures that the Fort Worth Fire Department posted. This started at 8:30 Saturday night on the southeast side of the city on Vaughn Boulevard. As I said, it was an auto repair shop, so you can imagine there were a lot of flammable materials inside. It was also a 75-year-old building, and firefighters had to evacuate quickly after they got there and went in because the building was starting to collapse. Now, they all got out in time. No firefighters were hurt. They really did everything they could, but several nearby buildings and vehicles were also damaged. These crews got the fire under control in a couple of hours, but they had to stay on scene for 15 hours just to make sure everything was totally out. And remember, it was a cold night. So kudos to the Fort Worth Fire Department.
Weatherford Fire Department got the call for a residential structure fire. Crews learned that 3 individuals remained in the building. It's a loss to the community. It's a loss to the neighborhood. It's a tragic loss to that family. The Weatherford Fire Department takes pride in helping people, and when we can't help them, it takes a toll on our people as well.
It is right to rebel. Right to rebel. Killer ICE, go to hell. Killer ICE, go to hell.
Will we stand up and fight back against those who need to suppress our speech and murdering us for doing the right thing?
All this is like, no, it is stay violent.
Congressman, we have seen one of your competitors, Mays Middleton, attack your conservative credentials, specifically about things you said about Donald Trump after January 6th, saying Trump's actions were, quote, clearly impeachable, and your comments also called him reckless that day. Curious now that you're running for Attorney General, looking for the Republican primary vote, do you regret those comments now?
Look, I always stand for what I believe in defending the Constitution and defending the rule of law, and I'm a strong supporter of President Trump. And in fact, if you look at the data, I've got the strongest record in Texas. So I think it's somewhat laughable that David Mays Middleton, who's funding these super PAC ads, would be taking shots at my conservative track record when it's barely unassailable. And but you know what? I think I'd be doing that too if I was spending $10 million and polling the single digits.
How long have you been living here?
3 years.
It's been 3 days.
This is our first time being back in this house.
Since Shakia Monroe has been home.
It's a lot worse from when I left.
She didn't want to show her face on camera, but says on Monday.
Every vent in the house was pouring water out. The buckets was filling up within 10 seconds.
She says about an hour later.
Every 5 minutes you hear a part of the roof fall somewhere in the house. So.
She says it started in the bathroom, then her room, then falling down on her son in his room.
Super stressed. Don't know what's gonna happen next.
Dallas Fire Rescue tell us they responded to a service call on Monday for a pipe burst in a vacant unit.
The ceiling is all over the place.
And then got a similar call on Tuesday in which a contractor was there to shut off the water.
This is my room.
At least 2 buildings had ceilings collapse due to leaking water.
This is my living room.
We've been to this complex for issues in the past. The city of Dallas says they filed a lawsuit against the owners, Key City Capital, which is also connected to LaSater Capital, in 2024. They say in 2025, courts appointed a receiver to take control of the property after the owners failed to fix code violations and implement crime prevention measures. But Key City Capital says, while we have proposed a plan to address the issues, we cannot proceed or perform repairs unless and until the city approves and authorizes that work through the receivership process.
It's real complicated. It's hard to get stuff fixed around here.
Leaving residents like Shakia wading through crisis. And how long y'all been in the hotel room now? How many days?
Since Monday.
She says management put her family in a hotel until Monday.
We don't need that many clothes.
When another unit is expected to be available.
It's a headache and we shouldn't be going through it at all.
In East Dallas, I'm Brittany Moncrief.
Hello, I'm Bryson. I'm with Clearwater Plumbers. Some North Texas homeowners are calling on plumbers like Bryson Walker and his coworker Luke for help. They pulled up in their Clearwater Plumbers work van, not knowing what they would find in Scott Blackstock's house, whose worst winter weather nightmare came true, a pipe bursting after freezing temperatures. Despite turning off his main water line, a leak happened while he was traveling during the freeze. The Clearwater crew cut through the wall under Scott's master bedroom bathroom sink, the insulation around some of the pipes soaking wet. Eventually, Bryson explained what happened to one of the pipes as the temperatures started warming up.
I can say, but that solder joint being off, you were just pumping water out of the top of that when you turned the water on.
Bryson also shared that pipe bursts are common after winter weather like we've had in North Texas. The repairs for Scott are far less costly because he discovered the leak before the water wreaked havoc throughout his house. Scott's advice to others: if you suspect a leak, call a plumber before it's too late.
I was just scared. Like, I didn't know what to do.
There's a muddy drainage culvert off Highway 175 in Seagoville.
Yes, sir.
Most people would drive right by. Tow truck driver Douglas Lane is not most people.
It was right there, and I just reached in there and I grabbed a hold to whatever I could grab.
Days ago, this area was covered in ice, and Douglas was clinging to a man who had fallen into the frigid water.
With the hood of his sweatshirt, keeping his head above water.
One, be advised, this is a submerged victim.
Seagoville Interim Police Chief Steve Davis's body cam was rolling as Douglas held on.
He was at the right place at the right time, for sure, for sure.
It's not clear how the man ended up here. Douglas said he saw a car in the middle of the road, pulled over, and heard shouting from the water.
I called them and
he dialed 911, and then
he gave up fighting to stay up above the water. I reached in there, I said, no, you're not gonna do that, and just grabbed a hold to whatever I could grab.
For several minutes, he waited for more police to arrive.
He's about 130 pounds dry, but he felt like he was about 300, 350 at least.
We gotta get him out. Hypothermia is going to set in.
Can we pull him up?
And forming a human chain, they pulled him out and rushed him to the hospital where he's still recovering.
Pull him up. He's probably got hypothermia.
Police thanking Douglas for not giving up.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
For doing something most people wouldn't do and giving this man a fighting chance.
He's coming around now.
Doug's actions, in my mind, saved this gentleman's life.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to get any kind of extra credit for it. I'm just doing what I know best, and that's helping others.
In Seagoville, I'm Luke Clary.
After the week we've had, it's time to move on. Embrace the sun, erase the ice.
I can only imagine.
It was just 2 days ago everything looked like this. We're all slowly crawling out of that.
It was 30 cars in front of me for sure.
Your neighborhood car wash
Thank you. Have a great day.
likely looked like this.
Please take your receipt.
Where cars looked like this. Where they love mom, but also love a clean car.
Getting this dirty car clean because this fake snow they done had outside.
The lines were out to the street, and that was nearly all day. Mark Walker has a line too.
The F-150 is ice related, along with this Cadillac Escalade.
It just lays out different.
I think he slid in the back of someone.
His auto body shop in Dallas is going to be busy for a while. These cars came in just this week.
I actually saw and received more calls for people having accidents on Wednesday than Monday and Tuesday.
Just as we were all coming back to somewhat normal, this weekend, the temperatures dip again.
I don't know what it's going to feel like come tomorrow, but right now it feels great.
It won't be anything like last weekend or this week because we're all ready to move on, albeit slowly. In DFW, I'm Jobin Puniger.
The Margaret McDermott Bridge in Dallas was a parking lot on New Year's Eve. People listening for fireworks.
Who listened at that?
Heard gunfire. A video posted to social media shows two men standing on the bridge firing rifles.
Look at him standing there shooting.
Dallas police say they found more than 100 shell casings.
I'm here to tell you, it won't happen again in Dallas, and if it does, you will get arrested.
Dallas Police Chief Daniel Como says detectives used these videos, some seemingly posted by the suspects, to track them down. Police arrested 20-year-old Anthony Acevedo and 18-year-old Jose Alarcon Sanchez.
You don't know where the bullet is going when you shoot like that.
Longtime South Dallas resident Willie Coleman says she hears gunshots often and knows how dangerous random shooting can be.
Nothing you can do but just pray.
She was hit by a stray bullet more than 20 years ago.
They had to take off half of my lung.
It's why she's glad police were able to use evidence collected from the shooting at the bridge to track down a third man, Anderson Lara, who police say was involved in a different shooting in November. Police believe it started as a road rage incident at the Walmart on Cockrell Hill, but it turned into a shooting over here on Chalk Hill. Police say a family tried to get away, 3 adults, 3 children, when their vehicle was shot at. The youngest child was just 3. All 3 suspects are facing charges, but 2 are not being released based on their immigration status.
If you put lives at risk in Dallas, we will identify you.
Coleman hopes that's true.
It's a lot more, though.
For her South Dallas neighborhood, too.
They got a lot of work to do.
Coast right there. Coast right there. Yeah, I got him.
It is all about the 24 tonight at the American Airlines Center as the Mavericks honor the great Mark Aguirre. Of course, he was the first overall pick back in 1981. He helped bring legitimacy to those early Mavs teams. And listen, the franchise that started in 80 actually made it to a Western Conference Finals in 1988. And Mark Aguirre was one of those driving forces. He will become the 5th Maverick to have his jersey retired on this night. He joins the likes of Rolando Blackman, Derek Harper, Brad Davis, and of course the great Dirk Nowitzki as Mavericks who will be eternally honored with those jerseys in the rafters. And tonight this building awash in that old school Maverick green. You can kind of see it on my face. Those lights are kind of reflecting on it. So that's what that's all about. Listen, the Mavericks are kicking it old school with that vintage Maverick green with that 24 on it on this night. And as you can see, just all the seats draped with that 24. Everyone who comes tonight will get a 24 jersey. In fact, let me show you some of the swag for fans tonight. As I mentioned, and you saw earlier, 24s for everyone, 24s all around. And they got these posters of the great Mark Aguirre that they're handing out as well. And then my personal favorite, they got the bobblehead. There's the man himself. It looks like a young Mark Aguirre in bobblehead form there. We're getting ready for a fantastic night here at the AAC. It is all about number 24 and Mark Aguirre as he has his jersey retired.
Wired headphones are having a comeback in some circles. So athletes, musicians, actors, among the A-listers who've been spotted in them. The December New York Magazine cover features celebrities sharing wired earbuds on the subway. The rich and famous might not care. They're cheaper than some Bluetooth models. Average people might. Wired headphones also are hard to hack, less likely to fall out or require charging. There's also been a few studies out there regarding some health concerns too. So maybe they're reading more than we know.